Hello everyone, welcome back. In this video, we're going to talk about Google Tables, and this is very useful because further in the channel, we're going to use this table to create timelines too. So for a start, here in our folder, we need to have our index.html file. And inside of this, we're going to have our simple template of our HTML, which let's make this title to Google Table. And here inside of our body, we're going to have our simple div, so we refer to this and put our table inside of this. So we create div with the ID of table. And after these items, after our body tag, we need to pass our serial link for our Google Charts. And we're going to have this link, which I'm going to give you this link right here, so you can use this CDN too. And after this one, we're going to create another JavaScript file here in our folder, which let's say we want to make the name to the table.js. And we're going to link that in our HTML. So we use this script tag and we make the source to this table.js. And again, we're going to open our HTML file using our live server, which is real-time refreshing extension for our HTML that we got right here. Now let's jump into our JavaScript and start coding our table. So the first thing that we need to have is, of course, our loadings and default lines for our Google Charts, as you know from previous videos. So we're going to have this Google.charts. Inside of this, we're going to have this load. The first parameter is going to be string of this current. And then we're going to have our object containing our package. And here we have a little different from previous charts, which here we don't want to load the core chart that we used to import that in our files and web page. And instead of that, we're going to use this table right here. And by importing this, we can use and create table. After this, the next line is going to defining our onload callback function, which is as same as previous one, our Google.charts. And then we have this set onload callback. And here we need to pass the function. Let's say our function's name is tablefunc. And let's create our callback function just like this, which the name is going to be this tablefunc, which receives no parameters, and we got our empty function right here. And of course, for starting, we're going to create our object of data. So we use this data right here, and we want this object to be from this type of class of Google.visualization. And here we need to use the method and constructor of data table. Let's create this misspelling in our syntax too. And here we need to pass the structure for our data at the first and then the actual data that we want. So we're going to create the first row and the header of our table so we can see what we are going to import in our code. And for doing that, here we're going to use our data object right here. And then inside of that, we got method of add column right here. And when we're using this, we need to pass two things right here. First one is going to be the type of the value that we want to pass. And the second one is going to be name of that thing that we want to pass. So with this structure, we're going to use again our data.add column. And here, let's say we want to save and show some details about some person in our web page. So we want this to be string, of course, and we want this column name to be person's name. So we pass the string of name right here. As same as this, let's say we want to save the username for our users too. So we got this username. After this, we can have the string, let's say for phone number. Let's say we got another one for the age, another one for the email, and let's say we got another one here for the any notes that we want to have to show related to this person. And at the last, let's say we got simple address for this person. After these columns and structure our table that we have created, we're going to use another method inside of our data object, which is add rows right here. And inside of this, as you can see from the name, we're going to import the rows for our table. And pay attention here, this method is going to receive 2D array from us. So our first array is going to contain all of the other arrays, which is going to be every row inside of our table. And inside of this, we're going to pass the values for each of these ones right here with the order that it has. So it's important to use the name, then username, phone, age, mail, note, and the address after each other. And we cannot swap these items places with each other because our table is going to be ruined. So here, let's say we have simple array right here, starting with the name. Let's say we want this to be John. Then we separate this with a comma. And after this, let's say what we have here, we have the username. And here we're going to have another string, which let's say this user's username is going to be John-213. After this, let's say for the phone, we got some random numbers right here. For the age, let's say he's 23 years old. And pay attention here, we can make this age not string and make this, for example, number. And of course, we can have some Boolean values too. So let's here actually create another Boolean value right here, which let's say to be long hair. So if this person has long hair, it's going to be true. And if he or she has short hair, it's going to be false. After the age, let's say we got email. Let's say the email is simply this john@gmail.com. After this, for the note, let's say this is a simple note about this person. And what other things that we got? Address and the Boolean value for the hair. So let's say here the test address. And after this, let's say this person don't have long hair. And after we created this, we're going to import multiple other data just like this to our table. And here we got our test data right here. And pay attention here in our last item that we got, because here we set the type of it to Boolean, but here we pass this 0 and 1. It's going to recognize these as number. So to fix this, we're going to put simply this false and trues right here. So these one are going to be false. Let's make this one true too. Again, this is going to be false. And these two items to be true. After we set the data for our table right here, the other thing that we're going to have is, of course, our options as other charts. So we're going to have this const options right here. And this is going to be object, of course. And after these one, we're going to create object for our table. So we're going to use this const table right here, which is new object. We're going to use this class of google.visualization.table right here. And inside of this, we're going to grab the tag in our HTML that we have created, which in our case is going to be with the ID of table. So here we're going to use our document.getElementById, and we're going to pass the ID of table right here. After this one, here we're going to use again our table object right here and use the method of draw. And inside of this, we need to pass the data object followed by our options object that we created earlier. And here we misspelled current right here, so we need to put this U right here. And now if we grab our page right here, you can see that we got this simple table in our web page. So let's have both of our code and our web page in one screen. And here we can come and work on the options object that we got here. The first thing that we're going to talk about options, and actually the first option is going to be the property of width. As you expect, by using this, we're going to define the width of our table. And if you put numbers right here, it's going to be in pixels, just like this. But if you want to use percentage right here, you need to pass that in string. So in this case, I want to be in 100%. Now you can see this got 100% of the width. And as same as the width, we got another one for our height. And again, here we can define this. For example, let's say here we want to make the height for our table to be 300 pixels. You can see that we got that just like this. After this, we can have another option here in our table, which is going to be show number of the rows for us. And we can use this show row number right here. And if we make this 2 or 1, and actually we need to have this number, you can see here, first of every line and every row, we're going to see the number that it has. After this, we're going to have another property here in our options, which is going to be allow HTML. But here, if you make this 1 or 0, you can see nothing is going to be different. And what this property does is actually in the cases that we got some kind of HTML tags and codes inside of our data. For example, let's grab our last item's name right here, and let's use our I tag of HTML right here. If we use this, which means we want this to be italic, you can see we see just like this, and we can see the tags inside of our table too. But if we use this allow HTML to be 1, you can see now this time it's going to be executed as HTML, and we got the result of this and not exactly this string. Of course, you can make this, for example, bold just by putting B here. You can see now we got this bold and all of other things. But here we're going to stay simple and make this 0. After this allow HTML, we got another item and option with the name of frozen columns. And here, if we make this 1, for example, you can see that here we got this line right here. And what is the usage of this? Let's say here we duplicate our email right here, and let's make that 3 times. And here inside of our data, let's copy and paste our emails. So we got actually 3 emails on each row. Now you can see here we got this result of the name, username, phone, age, 3 emails, then the note, address. But here you can see we got this scroll option right here that we can scroll on our table to see, for example, this property right here. But as you notice, we got this name column stayed at its place. And no matter how others are going to be changed, this one is going to be stay perfectly where it was before. And of course, we can make this number 2, for example, which is going to grab the username and save that for us too. So if we move, those 2 are going to be stay in their places. And here, if we want to set the default scroll value to something that we want, we can have another option right here with the name of scroll left start position. And you can pass the pixels that you want here. So when our table starts, it's going to have those number of pixels that we imported in the code as space in the left side and then start the table. It's something like a padding or margin inside of our table, so it has that number of pixels gap on its left side. If you make this, for example, 50, you can see you got this result right here, but of course you can make this 0 to start as default as it was. And we don't want our table to be scrolling, so we get rid of these two items by just commenting them out. And let's fix the email thing that we created right here. So we got our simple, pretty table right here. But as you notice, this is not as fancy as you want. You might want to change anything and any color or style inside of your table. If you look here, you don't have anything that you can work with. And here, if we have, for example, our style tag, of course, you can select, for example, the table row right here and pass this, for example, the color to be something different, or let's say we got this TD to do whatever you want. But as you notice, this is not going to apply to this one. And for fixing that, here in our options, we got another object of CSS class names. And this itself is going to be object which is going to hold some properties for us, which the first one is going to be this header row right here, which here we can define the class name for the header row. So let's say here we want to make the class name to the A. So we pass the A into a string right here. And this time, if we come to this style and make this A, but select as a class, you can see now we have selected that first header row right here. And just as same as this header row, we got another thing with the name of table row. And let's make the class name of this to the B. And here, let's actually make this just like this. So we're going to have multiple class names. This is going to be B, C, D, and E. And let's say we want this to be red, this one to be green, this one to be blue, and this one to be this kind of, can I type? This kind of purple right here. Now you can see by using this table row, we're going to select this even rows inside of our table, which if you ask, these are not even and odd. Pay attention that our indexing in programming is going to start from 0. So this one is going to be 0, 2, 4, and 6. And for setting anything for our odd rows, you can have this odd table row and pass whatever thing that you want. And pay attention, here you need to make the table uppercase. And you can see this time we got selected the odd rows. After these items, we have another one to be this header cell, which is going to select the header cells for us. Let's make the class name of them to the D. You can see how them have been changed. After this item, we're going to have table cell, which is going to be, of course, select all of these cells for us. Let's make this E right here. You can see all of the colors are going to be changed. And if you want to change these items right here, which are going to be row number cells, you can have this row number cell just like this. And let's make the class name of this to the F. And here we can have another F here. And let's make the color to this yellow right here. You can see now we have changed that one too. Now, because this is just for testing and this is not going to be very prettier, I'm going to change a little of style of this. And here you can see we got our table right here. Now, in some cases that you want to code some websites or web pages in some other language than English, for example, Persian, Arabic, or other language, you need to have your table to be from right to left. And for having that, what you need to do, let's get rid of these white spaces right here and have comma right here. What you need to do is have this RTL table right here. And if you pass the value of true right here, you can see you simply have flipped your table in your web page. If you make this 0, you're going to have your simple one. And if you make this 1, you're going to have your table to be from right to left. Now let's stay with our default value right here. And let's talk about sorting our items. If we have this property of sort here, and we want to activate this, we need to pass the word of enable into this property. And here you can see if I click on this name, it's going to sort based on their name. If I click on the username, it's going to do the same thing. For phone is going to do that too. And if I, for example, want to have sort by age, I can click on that and that is going to do the thing for me. And if I double click on this, it's going to change the direction for me. But if I want to have the default sorting thing in my table, what I can do here after the sort, we can have this sort column property, and here we pass the number of the column that we want our table to start based on that sorting. For example, here, if we have this number 1, you can see that we got our items sorted by this username. If we make this 3, for example, you can see that we got sorted by the age, and pay attention, this is index, and if we want to make this sorted by name, we need to pass the 0 right here, and as same as this, we can do anything that we want. But here again, let's stay with the default value. We can see here that we got the 7 items right here. But let's say here we want to duplicate our items, so we got a little more items that we have. And let's here get rid of this height, so we got this full screen. You can see this is not very good looking. We have 25 items and we cannot control this very well. And for solving this problem, we're going to have the paging system in our Google tables. And for that, we're going to have this page property right here and pass the word of enable right here. And by doing this, you can see it automatically created some page for us, which here we got our buttons, which here if we click on this one, is going to come to the next page. And here again, if we click, we're going to come to the last one. And we got these numbers to, let's say we want second, we click on that, we got our second page, and if we click on our first one, we got this page. But here we can have some controls on this paging system too. So for example, we can define the size of our page. And for doing that, here we can have this property of page size just right here, and we pass the number that we want. For example, let's say we want 5 items on each page. You can see that we only got 5 items here. After this, we're going to have the control for these buttons right here. And for that, we're going to use this paging buttons property right here, which is going to receive value in a string, which it can be auto, which is this thing right here, which we have this next page and previous page and don't have those numbers. We can have make this to the both. Here we can have both of them active, but on the last page, if we click, it doesn't go to anywhere. We can have this to be only next button. So we only can go into next page and we cannot come back right here. We can have exactly the opposite of that, which is going to be only our previous button active. And here we can have some number right here, which is going to tell us how many number of the page that we want. For example, if we make this 3, you can see that we got number 1, 2, 3 right here. And after this, we can use these switches right here and pay attention how our numbers are going to be changed. For example, if we are on our first page, just like this, we got this numbers of 1, 2, and 3. If we come to our second page, this one is going to be highlighted, but still those numbers. If we come to number 3, this time 3 is going to be in the middle, and we have number 2 and 4. And as we go on, it's going to be changed until the last one, which is this number 5. And of course, you can have this 5 to have all of them. And if you want to have this one dynamically, you can make this comment and you got exactly that result. And the last thing that we're going to talk about, if we refresh the page, you can see always we're going to start from this first page right here. But in some cases, we want the first table page to display is going to be some other page. And for that, we're going to have this start page property right here. that if we make this, for example, number 3, you can see we start from the 4th page because the index of 3 is going to be number 4. And if we want to have the index of number 1, which is going to be our 2nd page right here, we simply pass this number, and always if we refresh, we're going to be right here. And of course, we can do this with any desire that we have. Please give a like and subscribe to catch next videos.